Idleness is the enemy of the soul. Hello, I am Brother Francisco Whitaker, and this is All Good in the Brotherhood. For today's topic of Benedictine Spirituality 101, we're going to talk about the devil's workshop, or idleness. In the rule, St. Benedict says that idleness is the enemy of the soul, and because of that, monks should always be active, doing something. The motto of the rule is ora et labora, pray and work. And we actually call the prayer that we do together the Opus Dei, the work of the Lord. So there's always a work we should be doing. And that is not to say that we should be workaholics, but Benedict's way of iterating and stressing how important it is for us to not just sit around, being lazy, slothful, or something else we might hear is a word called acedia, which is kind of a spiritual sloth, to be lazy of the things of the Lord, to not be proactive in pursuing Him or in being generous or kind to others. It is different from asceticism, which is to cut back on those things that keep us away from a good relationship with God and others, like excessive food, drinking, or practices of cutting back, fasting, and other ways of exposure to maybe in our day social media, whatever it is. Acedia versus asceticism is almost an opposite, an overindulgence in the things of the world, to a place that numbs our very senses and numbs our souls to be in tune with the workings of the Holy Spirit. So Benedict says, idleness is the enemy of the soul. And in Proverbs 16, we hear something very similar, that idle hands are the devil's workshop and the idle lips his mouthpiece. So if we're not doing things with them, then they can be used as tools for evil. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean every action that we do is going to be a good thing by nature? No, there's a lot of things we could be doing. Busyness does not necessarily mean productivity or something holy. So Benedict saying that monks should not be idle is not his way of saying they should be busybodies, but rather they should be proactive in pursuit of relationship with Christ and with others. So there are two things that Benedict says are key features to avoiding idleness. Number one is physical labor, work. That is something that certainly most Americans, we understand that drive to work, to work, to work. Although these days there also are people who seem to be completely allergic to the idea of working 8-hour shifts, but that's a different story. He says that by using your hands for the good of the community, the sweat of your brow, calloused hands, that by striving and putting your whole body into an effort, you're giving yourself. And it reminds you that your task here on earth is not just about you. Your service is not just about you. It's about others. You're going out of yourself. That in labor, we can learn to love better. So for us, that might be a whole host of different things. If, you are married and you're the provider for your family, then your labor can mean just doing your daily job, going out and taking care of your tasks or whatever your work is in order to provide for your family. If you are at home, your labor is whatever it is that beautifies your home, makes it better, creates an environment of love and care. That is just as equally as important as bringing home money for providing for the family, is providing a home that is safe, loving, nurturing, educating. Both of those are labors. They might be different and different looking, but they are still labors, and they require an effort and a choice on our part. My labor isn't actually really either of those two particular things in a way that provides for a family, but I do work so that it provides for my community, my monastery, and the work of God. My prayer is also a way that I grow the spirit of my community. So putting out ourselves through labor, doing something that takes us out of ourselves. And the second thing that Benedict says as a way to avoid idleness is reading. And he's not just talking about kind of casual reading, whatever you want it to be. Scrolling, doom scrolling is not reading. He's talking about spiritual reading, deepening the soul, learning, nurturing your soul in a way that it expands its capacity to receive and understand the callings and workings of the Holy Spirit. So that actually Benedict says hours a day should be spent in reading, which, monks back then, I'm not saying that we should be excused of this, but monks back then definitely had more time for something like that. We don't necessarily, but that doesn't mean we should be excused. St. Jose Maria Escriva says, "Do not avoid spiritual reading, for by it many people have become saints." So when you're done with your work of your hands, your labor, certainly a temptation for me and a temptation for a lot of people is to just okay, now it's me time. Sit back, relax, right? Go turn on the television, scroll through social media, just kind of, get a drink and just sit. None of those are bad things in and of themselves, but they aren't growing us. They aren't bettering us necessarily. Whereas some kind of spiritual reading, or even honestly a good classic work of literature, is still something active. We're still engaging our mind, and it's still expanding an understanding of ourselves, of God, and of others. So spiritual reading is to take what others have understood about God and about the world and about how we as humans have still an intimate connection with the divine, how to take that into our daily life so that it then informs our work and makes it more spiritual. They're supposed to complement each other. Our work kind of breaks us down so that we can receive these spiritual things better, which enlivens us and builds us up to make our work more beautiful, more spiritual, more prayerful. So instead today of maybe being on YouTube for the whole day, I appreciate you for being on right now watching me. So that's a caveat, I suppose. But instead of just sitting online or just sitting around, do something productive and do something spiritually productive. Avoid laziness, for it is the enemy of the soul. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Benedictine Spirituality 101. I am Brother Francisco. Have an awesome day. God bless.